Hey guys, another video for our How to Do Stuff in Japan playlist. As with most of the videos on the How to Do Stuff playlist, usually it's just observations. Occasionally it's telling you about a mistake that we all might be able to learn from. In this case it's a little bit of both, So some of you would have seen videos talking about the kids going to school and about the dangers of the kids going to school, and about how the school actually sent home a form a couple of years ago and said, is there anything dangerous that you've noticed, when the kids are walking to school? And we went, right, here's an opportunity, and wrote a whole page of stuff. There's this is dangerous and that's dangerous and this is dangerous and that's dangerous. All stuff that can be improved on. It wasn't just sort of pointless stuff just for the sake of it. It was all things that could be improved on. About where they walk and paying attention and not running on the road and all sorts of really simple, basic stuff. And some of you remember, nothing happened, They said, tell us what you think's dangerous. We did, nothing happened. There was no response to it, there was nothing. So it's fairly typical in Japan that they have the meeting about the thing, or talking about the thing, or writing down a report about the thing, and then nothing changes. Happens all the time. The government does the same thing. They say, we're considering this, or we're talking about that, and that'll happen a lot, and then nothing will happen. So it's fairly normal. We've talked about this before, and the lesson is, we just have to accept everything just the way it is. So our solution to that was, okay, it's not going to change, it's the way it is. So our solution to that is we actually walk to school with our kids every day, which is fairly unusual. People here don't normally do that. In this area anyway. So, but that's our solution, because we know that things aren't going to change, and that's usually the best reaction to things in Japan. If something is dangerous, or something is not good, and you're worried about the safety of yourself or your kids, or something else, is just sort of adapt in a way that's not going to make waves. So anyway, that's that, right? And then some of you might also remember a video we've talked about that you've got to be careful not to assume that anybody here is thinking is different. So to get to the point, what happened this morning was that there is a judge, a court judge, who lives very close to our house, and his kids actually walk to school in the same group as our kids. So quite often in the morning he comes out with his kids, and I'm walking with our kids or with the group. And he comes out, and his English is really good, and he comes out and good morning, and his English is really good, very well educated. He's a judge, and this morning he came out and good morning, and I'll be walking with you this morning because somebody told him that his boy had been kicking the other boy and something, and so he wanted to check. Right, which is sort of funny really, because obviously if the boy had been doing something naughty, he wouldn't be doing it when he was around. But that's a sort of fairly typical Japanese response too. We had that once before. Some of you might remember. We actually told the school that that particular group was behaving in a way that was a little bit dangerous, and they sent a teacher along to walk with them, and of course, the behaviour is different, isn't it? So same thing this morning. But I said to the man that I'd never seen his kid do anything wrong, but of course that could be when I'm not around as well, But I said, I hadn't seen him doing wrong. But he was walking with us all the way to school. So I thought, well, here's an opportunity, because here we are walking together. He's a man who can speak English really well. He's a judge, so he'd be very well respected if he was to talk to the school. And here we are walking the route where there's lots of dangers. And some of you might remember there was some talk about there's a long, wide, busy road that goes slowly down a hill. And it's a long road, and it has a downhill slope towards the school. And the result of that is that the junior high school kids, our group's elementary school kids, the junior high school kids come down the hill really fast on their bicycles, and it's really dangerous because the kids are walking on the path, and the footpath is not very wide, so it's got real potential. So often the bicycles come too fast, and fly past the kids and almost hit them. And so we think it's got the real potential to be an accident. We've seen so many close calls, you know. And so here's an opportunity. Walk along with him, and I said to him, always look at this, you know, this path, these bicycles, see how fast they come, you know. And the kids, little kids, so some of the kids are only 6 years old, 7 years old, and because they sort of drift when they're walking out into the middle of the path, and if they get hit by one of those bikes going fast, it'll be a real thing. Potentially lethal, but at least some big damage, you know. And so I said to him, you know, if you look on the other side of that busy road, there's another path over there that's actually a bit wider. I said to him, if the junior high school could tell their students to ride their bicycles down that side, and the pedestrians, the elementary school kids, and some of the junior high school kids who walk, could all walk on this side. And then you have the bicycles going quickly down that side, and the pedestrians walking down this side, and that risk is taken away then. And it wouldn't be a hard thing to do. All it would take is a junior high school to tell the kids, when you're coming down that hill, go down that side, not that side. And should have known better. Now the mistake was because he's an educated, intelligent man, and because his English is really good. And this is what can catch you out. We talked about this on a previous video. When you're speaking Japanese to a Japanese person, you know, it reminds you of the culture and the situation. When you're speaking to someone who speaks English, a Japanese person who speaks English really well, it's easy to forget that you still got to stay in the Japanese culture. Even though you're speaking English, you know, the thinking is still Japanese. But you can see where a person could go down, you know, could think, hey, here's an opportunity to actually improve something, you know, that's really dangerous to the kids. And again, you know, most things in Japan, shogunai is what we say, and that just means it can't be helped, or it is what it is, you know. And you know, when you live in Japan, you have to say shogunai every day, because there's things that, you know, are not cool, or things that are annoying, or things that are illogical. Illogical is huge here. You know, the lack of logic is huge, and you just have to say shogunai every day. That's really ridiculous. Oh, well, shogunai, and you're thinking that, you're not saying it. You're just thinking it. You're just thinking, okay. So, but in this case, it's the safety of the kids, you know, and not just our kids, but all the kids. And quite often it's the other group that we see the near misses, because those guys don't have an adult with them, and they'll be playing and talking or walking beside each other instead of single file, and the bike will fly past, oh, you know, jeez. And so anyway, our learned English-speaking judge friend says, the rule is that the bicycles should stay to the left. Right? And I said to him, yeah, I know, but the problem is that the path is so narrow. If the bicycle rider, and because sometimes the bikes come down side by side too, two dudes talking to each other, riding really fast down the hill, or sometimes the kids that are walking walk beside each other, and the path is really narrow. So that's enough. One of those things is enough to cause the accident, you know. And so I said to him, you know, I know, but you know, all it takes is one of them to be beside the other one, and we'd have a accident. And it's normal, I think, he said. And we've heard that before from English speakers, because that's futsu. Yeah, futsu, it's normal. And that's it. And that's the classic response that you get. If something is dangerous or illogical or irrational, or, you know, for whatever reason, to us it's really, really obvious that it's not a good thing. That, you know, with a small change you could make it much safer. And this isn't trying to change all of Japanese society. All it is, you know, all it takes is for that guy to talk to the school and suggest this thing, you know, and get them to do it. And a small change, the bicycles go down that side instead of down this side, and they already have rules like that. There are already places where they have to cross here, not here, and there's already rules like that. And that's the other thing, all the bikes and the kids arrive at the traffic light, and then the kids are all small, and these bigger kids on bicycles sort of push them out of the way. And at one stage we got to the traffic lights, and there was a bunch of kids that had crossed the street and nowhere to go, because the path was blocked with these bigger kids on bicycles. So there's a bunch of 7 and 8 year olds standing on the street, standing on a street where the light was red but about to go green. And I said to him, look what's happening over here. You know, because there's these kids that can't get off the road because there's all these bicycles. And that's the other problem, is that when you get to the traffic light, you got big kids on bikes mixing with little kids on foot, you know? And so the solution is so simple and so, but no, it's not going to happen. So the point of this video is sort of twofold. Partly just for people who are interested in Japanese culture, you know, it's an example of that. But the other one, it's yet another reminder of the way we have to react to stuff in Japan, that you just have to accept it, you know. And usually that's, you know, of course, you go to any other country, you've got to accept the way things are as well. But it's taken to a whole new level here. It really is. I mean, fair to say, you know, if you went to pretty much any other country and saw a situation like that where a small change could bring about a lot more safety for the kids, you know, it's fair to say in most countries they go, oh yeah, it's a good idea, and they do it. But not Japan. You know, just the inertia and that initial reaction to stuff like that is always the same. First of all, it's explaining the programming again. It's that robotic thing, you know, our friend that says, they're robots, mate, they're robots, which sounds really harsh, but you can see why he says it. Because, you know, here's this intelligent man who's a judge, who you think would be used to making judgment calls on what's good and what's not, you know. But his first reaction is to tell you what the rule is, which I suppose the judges do that too. But, you know, the mana is that the bicycles should stay on the left. Okay, yeah, but it's a really narrow street and, you know, a narrow path, and so someone's still going to get hit. Oh yes, but it's normal. It's normal. And when someone says that to you in Japan, if they say futsu, futsu desho, futsu, you know, and if they tell you something's normal in Japan, that's the end of the discussion. Because when something's normal, that's it. It stays like that. And it doesn't matter whether it's risking kids' lives or whether it's totally irrational, totally illogical or anything else. And you just have to accept it. So it's yet another lesson to all of us, all of us, yet another lesson that, you know, it doesn't matter. Don't be fooled by the English. You know, don't be fooled by a person's apparent openness. You know, we've had this problem before with people whose English was good and who'd travelled a lot and talk about how interesting it is to have different ways of thinking and like talking to foreigners because of their different way of thinking. And, you know, someone tells you that in English, that they like talking to foreigners because they're different way of thinking and they like different ideas and like foreigner thinking, and it's really good. And free thinking, foreigner free thinking is really good. Someone tells you all that, you think, oh, I can say anything to this person. No, you can't. No, you can't. There's probably exceptions, like all these things, you know. There's probably exceptions, but nah, probably not. Have to say that there's probably exceptions because it's not fair or not right to say everyone's the same, is it? But you know, anyone who's lived here for a long time is going to be sitting there nodding, saying, yeah, pretty much. And some people get fooled too. That's the other thing, is that some people can fool you and say, oh, sugoi, you come up with your new idea. You know, his reaction was fairly direct. He's go, oh, well, you know, it's normal, that's the end of it. Some people nod. The teacher we had walk with us one day told her all the same stuff, basically. And she's, oh, so desu ne, omoshiroi desu ne, you know, that's right, that's interesting, that's, and that's it. And that's the other one. And so sometimes we get people say, oh no, I know some Japanese people who are interested in new things, and yeah. yeah. Let's see some examples of someone actually doing something. You know, it just doesn't. You know, we talked about this so many times before. You know, we see stuff on Japanese TV all the time. Oh, look at this sugoi thing that someone's doing in this other country. You know, isn't this sugoi? Oh, it's subarashi. Oh, wonderful thing that someone's doing in another country. Oh, that's really wonderful. And that's it. They're sort of interested in what other people are doing, but it doesn't mean they're going to do it, because we have our normal way of doing it here, and that's it. That's it. You just do it the normal way here. And the tragic thing is, when it ends badly, you know, and it's inevitable, our kids are going to be going to these local schools for another, you know, one of them hasn't started yet. So we're going to be involved in these local schools and this walking to school thing for another 12 years, you know. And it's inevitable. Some kid's going to get killed. It's just inevitable, you know. The narrow roads, like this one, narrow roads with kids walking on the side and the cars going fast. And you've seen the roads, some of them we showed you, that are one lane with two ways, so cars going both ways, but only wide enough for one car, and then the kids are walking on it as well. And they're talking to each other, and there's people flying around looking at their smartphones and driving their cars looking at their smartphones, and dudes on bicycles riding really fast looking at their smartphones, and it's just inevitable. We had one person killed, an adult killed on a pedestrian crossing very close to where the kids walk recently. And there wasn't a lot of talk about it. Oh, someone died, and there's some flowers next to the road, you know, at the crossing, and there wasn't a lot of talk about it. So, and when stuff like that happens, like, oh, Tane Hender's now, you know, it's sad and it's bad and it's hard, and you know, and everyone acts surprised too. Everyone acts surprised, and that's the amazing thing. We've had that conversation so many times in our family, where the foreigner has said something, you know, geez, that's not going to end well. You know, that's not going to end well. And then something happens and boom, and it doesn't end well. And everyone goes, oh, big stuff. And you know, some of the Japanese members of the family look at me because they know I said something about it. And of course, you can't say I told you so. That would obviously be the really wrong thing to do. You know, because that's just making waves, makes people feel bad. It doesn't work either. It's just that's why I make these videos, you know. Our natural reactions, most of us from other cultures, our natural reactions in situations like this are just not acceptable here, you know. And there's sometimes people who watch videos like this and go, I'd be saying what I think, I'd be doing this and I'd be saying that, and I'd do something, and you should change something, and you're too weak, you should change everything. You know, yeah, you can if you want to, you can try that if you want to. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The best thing to do is adapt. You know, so in this case, can't do anything about it. Just the only thing that can be done is to actually walk with our kids and make sure they get to school in one piece, you know. But it's really hard because some days you see some terrible things. You know, some days you'll see other kids almost get hit by cars and almost get hit by bicycles, and you know, it's really hard and really stressful. It's really stressful watching little kids being put at risk, you know. So it is really hard, it really is. So it's the stuff like this. I mean, it depends on your situation, you know. If you've got kids, this is the sort of stuff that'll probably stress you out. If you don't have kids, there'll be other stuff that's similar. Frustrations, you know, stuff like this is what you'll hear people say if they lived in Japan for a while and then they decided to leave. You know, it's the stuff like this, it's the stuff that really affects you, that frustration and the so on. So, you know, like we always say with these videos, we try to cover everything, you know, the stuff that makes you feel good and the stuff that makes you feel not good, because that's life, isn't it? That's life here. That's life everywhere, isn't it? There's always stuff that you like and that's good, and the stuff that you don't like that, you know, you don't think's good, and that's life, isn't it? You know, so we try and show you all of it. And there's always people who say, oh, well, it's Japan, it's the way. Well, yeah, we know that. We know it's Japan, and Japan will do things the way Japan does, and that's good. That's a good thing. That's what we want. Otherwise, every country would be the same, wouldn't it? We know all that. But this is just the reality. The other thing is too, we get different reactions from people who visited Japan for 2 weeks, you know, or a month, or 6 months, or a year, or something, and they say, "Oh no, it's all great. There's no, you know, it's not a problem, and I can accept everything, and it's all easy," you know. And that's, you know, it's true. When you come here for a short period of time like that, you know, it's much easier to accept everything because it's only for a short time, and then you're going back to your place, and in the meantime, everything's sort of interesting. A lot of this stuff's fairly subtle too, so you can sort of miss a lot of the stuff that goes on, not notice it, because a lot of it's pretty subtle, you know. So anyway, for some of you that might be a mildly interesting cultural thing. For other people, you know, occasionally someone hears a video like this and says, I couldn't live with that, you know, I couldn't live in Japan. Well, if that's, you know, we figure that it's better to know, isn't it? It's better to know. It's better to know about it. And then the other thing is, it's a heads up, because you can get yourself in trouble with this You know, you don't want to be the foreigner coming here trying to change everything, because they don't react well to that. So most of us wouldn't, you know, if someone came to our country and tried to change stuff, we'd be going, hey, you know, you don't like it here, go home. Don't try and change our country, right? That's the reaction you get pretty well anywhere, wouldn't you? Same thing here. You know, they don't want to hear what the foreigner's trying to change or the foreigner thinks should be different. But that said, even if a Japanese person was to say one of these things, it wouldn't be popular either. It's just change. No, it's normal, I think. It's normal, I think. End of discussion. It's normal, I think. It's normal, I think. Anyway, there it was. Hopefully someone got something out of that. More videos coming soon.